tenancy laws for victims of domestic violence. Now, you'll say, Rosie, you talked about this last year, you talked about it the year before. Yeah, I did, but there's been some changes. So we actually need to, it's still going back to, relating back to the Residential Tenancies Act of 2010. We did get the new laws in 2018. They were a bit changed in 2019. And obviously we got all the updates in 2020. So, but what we have more recently is that when a tenant, obviously a tenant who is experiencing the circumstances of domestic violence, they can end their tenancy immediately without penalty if they or their dependent child are in circumstances that relate to domestic violence. So the tenant needs to get, pretty much all of you know this stuff. The tenant will need to give the landlord or their agent a domestic violence termination notice and attach one of the permitted forms of evidence. Now, it used to be, about a domestic violence declaration. So previously, only medical practitioners were allowed to complete a domestic violence declaration. That has changed, which is in my opinion, a really good thing, because not every victim of domestic violence goes to see a medical practitioner. They may well go to their pharmacist, they may well seek psychology appointments, they may well see a social worker, they may have ended up in a women's refuge or shelter, and the social workers there are the people who are helping them through this process, or the process of changing their accommodation and getting out of tenancies and providing them with emergency and crisis accommodation. So from the 11th of December, so about 6 weeks ago, there's a broader range of what is now referred to as competent persons who can provide this declaration. So it's not just a medical declaration now. So those of you who work in property management, those of you who are advising people who need to change their living arrangements and end the tenancy due to domestic violence, you need to know that you need to use the new forms. You can find those on the Fair Trading website. Just hop onto their website, click in domestic violence forms or termination notice. So there's such a broad area now, and the forms actually have listed on it who can provide these. So obviously registered health practitioners can do that. It can come from an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander health practice, Chinese medicines, chiropractors, dental, obviously midwifery, nursing, occupational therapists. Such a huge range down to physiotherapy, psychology, social workers, employees of government agencies that work in child protection. So, it's such a broad range now. But guys, the point here is, yes, we know this was here. We've had it for a couple of years now with this legislation. Please make sure you are passing on the correct forms to your tenants to be able to use that for their termination notice. So there's new termination notices, obviously for the tenant and also for the dependent child. So that's about all the termination notices that you're giving to co-tenants, to landlords. So all of those forms have changed. So make sure 4 new forms there, all on the Fair Trading website. Pop in and get them from there, or obviously from whoever you get your forms from, whether it's EAC or ADL or REI or any of the other form providers. They will all have the new forms on their systems. So make sure that you are using those.